Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namami buddham gunasagarantam satta sada hontu sukhi averam khayo jiguncho sakalo dugando gachanti sabbe maranang ahanca samanta cakkavalesu atra gachantu devatam sandhammang munirajassa sunanto sagga mokkadam Dhammasavana kalo ayam badanta Dhammasavana kalo ayam badanta Dhammasavana kalo ayam badanta Namo tansa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Yo paticca samuppadang passati Yo dhammang passati Yo dhammang passati so paticca samuppadam passati ti. Homage to the exalted one, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends in the Dhamma, today we are going to one of the main topics in Buddhism, that the dependent co-origination or paticcasamuppada, the law of cause and effect or causality. Actually, this is the heart of Buddhism. This is the identity in Buddhism. When we compare Buddhism with other religions and philosophies in the world, this is the identity in what Buddha taught. And before we are going to explain this very important topic, I would like to summarize some kind of Buddhist teachings. As I mentioned before, when we discuss Buddha's message, all Buddhist doctrines that Buddha explained in his life for 45 years can be divided into two. One of them is the heavenly path. Heavenly path. The other one is deliverance path. You know the meaning of these two things? Heavenly path means that how I receive a blissful life hereafter. That is one of the teachings in Buddhism. The other one is deliverance path. It means how we overcome suffering at this moment. That is the interesting thing in Buddhism, because other religions says there are liberation after death. But the special thing in Buddhism is that we can liberate in this moment. We can overcome our sickness, decay and death before we reach those challenges. That is the interesting thing. And before we die, we can overcome the suffering of death at the moment, in this very immediate moment. And when Buddha explains the heavenly path, it is very important to understand what Buddha explained. And when we enter this path, there is one of the qualities that we have in our life. That says in Buddhism as suvacha. In Pali language, suvacha means good attention, awareness, or paying our attention. That is very important. I think all of you have this ability, this skill. That is why you are here. If we have good attention, even though we have a lot of mistakes, misbehaviors in our life, actually we can overcome those all difficulties, mistakes and misbehaviors in our life. Because we are ready to hear something. It doesn't mean that we should be obedient. Obedience and good attention are different. Obedience means that whatever someone says, you are ready to believe it. You are ready to practice it. You are ready to follow it. But the good attention or suvacha is not like that. You have good attention. With your intelligence, you decide whether it is correct or not, whether it is good or not. You have a right to decide whether you want to practice it or not. That is your duty. Buddha says very clearly, I am only a teacher. I can't liberate you from your suffering. That is your duty. I can explain only the path that you can overcome suffering. And here, when we are going to get benefits throughout listening to Buddha's message, first of all, we should have good attention. I think all of you have that skill. That is why you are here. When we have good attention, we listen to what Buddha taught. Then we understand the heavenly path. Heavenly path means how we succeed our next life. Here it is very important to understand the karmic law, the law of karma. Karma means actions, what we do with intention. According to our intention, mental conditions, what we do physically, verbally and mentally, we will have the same results. When our mind is polluted, impure, then results are not good. Results are negative. When our mind is pure, calm and wholesome, then results are fruitful. This is the first understanding that we have, that we gained throughout listening to what Buddha taught. Actually, this, the karmic law depends on the conventional truth. What is the conventional truth? Conventional truth means that ordinary people think. It is not a special thing in Buddhism. The ordinary people, what they think, what is their attitude, whatever they see through their eyes, they think, before we see this thing, it was here. After I experience this thing, it remains here. That is one of the attitudes of an ordinary person. And also the ordinary person thinks that suffering or happiness comes from outside to me. That is why people always try to change outside things. When you read, when you are obedient, when you have a good discipline, your mind is so happy. When you do some bad things, then your mom gets upset. Because your mind depends on outside. And this is the thing that ordinary people think. And this is the thing that dependent the karmic law or conventional truth depends on. Actually, it is not bad in some times, because most people work according to conventional truth in the world. Even though we have higher intelligence, wisdom, we have to work with ordinary people in the society, because they don't know the ultimate truth. Here, we should be intelligent, and also we should be aware of ordinary people. And however, according to the karmic law, we always try to overcome negative thoughts that disturb our peace of mind. And also we try to develop positive thoughts which bring us happiness. According to conventional truth and according to the karmic law, always we try to do good things with pure mind, physically, verbally and mentally. And also, when we have this understanding about the karmic law, we always try to do good deeds, meritorious deeds, and wholesome activities. According to Buddhism, there are 3 meritorious deeds that we can practice in our day-to-day life. What they are? Dana, generosity, sila, morality, and bhavana, meditation. Offering something to others, practicing loving kindness, having a good discipline in our behavior and speech, and mental culture, and developing positive thoughts in our mind. These are the things that we can do to succeed this life in the name of blissful life hereafter. But the result is not only hereafter. As much as we do good deeds in our life, meritorious deeds, we can see the results throughout practicing good deeds in this life, before we die. For example, if you have helped others, sometimes you help some homeless people or some virtuous people, then when you think those activities, you are happy. And when you offer some food to someone, then when he eats that food, you are happy. And also if you help some innocent children, when they go forward in their education, you can be happy. Even though they don't appreciate you, when you think your action, you can be happy. That is why Buddha says, Sukho Punya Sauchayo. Practicing merits, synonym, practicing happiness. As much as if we can practice good deeds in our life, it means we improve our happiness in this life. Not only hereafter, but in this short life, we can be happy when we think our good activities. And also, we can see some results in this life before we die. When we help others, when you offer something to others, you can make good friends in this society. And also, the special thing that you will have throughout practicing good deeds with the understanding of the karmic law, that you meet good friends who explain the Buddha's message, the world reality as it is. That is the main benefit that we receive throughout meritorious deeds. And this is the first thing that Buddha explained. But even though we practice these 3 meritorious deeds, we are not away from suffering. Why is that? Even though we have done a lot of merits in our life, when somebody blames you, what happens to you? You are unhappy, you are suffering. Because you don't know how suffering arises. And also, when you seek, even though you have practiced generosity and morality, you are unhappy, you are suffering. When you are close to die, one day you will reach your destination in this life. Have you thought it? One day we have to say that today is my final day that I live in this life. Day by day we are reaching that day, even though we like or not, whether we think or not, that is the reality. When we reach that situation, if we don't have the highest knowledge in Buddhism, actually we will be unhappy, we will be suffering. That is why we should find another step. Buddha says, there are 3 reasons that we find a spiritual teacher and his sublime truth. If there are no these 3 reasons, challenges, we don't need a spiritual teacher. We don't need to find a spiritual teacher and his sublime truth if we don't have 3 challenges in our life. What are the biggest challenges in our life? Have you thought it? Yes, aging or decay, death and rebirth. Sometimes someone doesn't believe rebirth, it doesn't matter. But we all believe that decay and death. We compulsory reach these things. Aging and death. Day by day, we are going forward finding a stick, whether we like or not. Day by day, we are reaching the cemetery, whether we know or not. These are the challenges, big challenges in our life. That is why we have to find another step in this spiritual journey. Here the topic is that is very important to go when we go to the next level, the deliverance path. Deliverance path means how we liberate from suffering. How we be free from suffering completely in this moment. That is the interesting thing. Here, Buddha says, Yo patissampadam passati, yo dhammam passati, yo dhammam passati, so patissampadam passati in his language Pali. He who sees the dependent origination, the law of cause and effect, sees the Dhamma. He who sees the dependent origination, sees the Dhamma. He who sees the Dhamma, Dhamma means what Buddha taught. What Buddha explained, the world reality. He who sees the Dhamma sees the dependent origination. The Dhamma or world reality and the dependent origination are interrelated. He who sees the dependent origination sees the Dhamma. He who sees the Dhamma sees the dependent origination. On the other hand, Buddha says, he who sees the Dhamma sees the Buddha. He who sees the Buddha sees the Dhamma. Yo Dhammam Passati, Somam Passati, Buddha says in his language, Pali. Yo Dhammam Passati, Somam Passati, Yomam Passati, So Dhammam Passati. He who sees the Dhamma sees me. Me means the Buddha. He who sees me sees the Dhamma. That is very important. Again, he who sees the dependent origination sees the Dhamma. He who sees the Dhamma sees the dependent origination. He who sees the Dhamma sees the Buddha. He who sees the Buddha sees the Dhamma. It is very clear that when we discuss Buddhism, what Buddha taught as the world reality, actually the dependent origination or the law of cause and effect is the heart. That is the main topic in Buddhism. This is the unique in Buddhism. We can never see anywhere this sublime teaching. When we discuss karmic law, actually before Buddha appeared in the world, a lot of ascetic people, especially in India, believe the karmic law. They practice generosity, virtue and meditation. They develop their mind. They develop their mind to the maximum level with the understanding of the karmic law, but depending on conventional truth. They couldn't overcome conventional truth. After Buddha appeared in the world, Buddha not only explained the conventional truth, but the Buddha explained the ultimate truth. Ultimate truth. This is the ultimate truth. What is the ultimate truth? It means that how suffering arises. What happens to our life at the moment. Buddha says, before Buddha attained enlightenment, he thought again and again how people in the world are suffering. People in the world, they face a lot of problems in their life. Buddha recognized sufferings that the ordinary people have. What are the sufferings that Buddha recognized in this world? Jatipi dukkha, birth is suffering. Jarapi dukkha, decay is suffering. Vyadipi dukkho, sickness is suffering. Maranampi dukkham, death is suffering. Apyehi sampayogo dukkho, meeting those who we don't like is suffering. And also, if we like something, when they separate from us, we are suffering. These are the sufferings that people in the world daily face. When Buddha recognized these things, Buddha thinks again and again, why these challenges, sufferings come to our life? What is the closed reason that we face these challenges in our life? Why we die? Why we get sick? Why we face decay, suffering, separation from our dearest and nearest, and meeting some bad people in the world, those who we don't like. What is the close reason that we face those problems in our life? Yes, because we were born in this world. Birth is the close reason that we face those problems. Then again, Buddha imagined how birth arises. Why we were born in this world? What is the nearest reason of birth? Then Buddha recognized the nearest reason of birth as bhava. Bhava means becoming. Becoming means, it is a very interesting thing that when we look at outside, we think there is a world outside. When you think your home, your mom, your brother, you think they are outside. Even though you don't think those things, you may think that they are in outside. Your vehicle is on the street. Even though you don't think your vehicle, you may think that it is there. It means you are in becoming. It means you are ready to come back to the world. Even though you remove your physical body here, mentally you are ready to come back to the world. You have received your visa to come back. Don't worry. While you will be going home after this class, when you think your home, sometimes you may face some accident on the street. Even though you remove your body there, if you think your mom or your house that they are in outside, don't worry. Even though you lose your body on the street, you will be there. Your mind will be there, and according to your mental condition, you will have a physical body. That is the thing in this world, whether we like or not. That is the meaning of bhava or becoming. That is the thing, that is the attitude, which means we are ready to come back to the world. And therefore Buddha says the reason of birth is that bhava or becoming or this misunderstanding. It doesn't mean that don't misunderstand. Buddha never says that there are nothing, something outside. There is nothing outside, Buddha never said. There is something outside. But we create feelings, suffering or happiness according to our mental condition. We create the world at the moment according to our present senses. Now, you are happy or neutral when you look at me. But after I blame you, if I blame you with some bad words, your mind completely will change. Then you look at me in another way. That is the situation of our mind. And that is why always we create our senses according to our present mental condition. Again and again, we create our eyes, nose, ears, these things. Now, we can see this wall, but we can't see through this wall, according to our present eye condition. But when we tune our eyes throughout practicing some meditation techniques, we can see through this wall. There are some beings, they are able to go through this wall. There are some, ghosts. They have an ability to go through this wall and see through this wall, according to their senses. That is the thing. Now, according to this, our present mental condition and our senses, we can't go through this wall. And then Buddha again imagined, reflected on how becoming or bhava arises. What is the reason of becoming? Buddha mentioned. What is the reason of becoming or bhava? We are discussing here the dependent origination, the heart of Buddhism. First, we discuss in Buddhism there are two paths. One of them is heavenly path, the other one is deliverance path. Heavenly path depends on the karmic law with the conventional truth. There are a lot of people who know this reality. Even the Buddha appeared in the world, there were some people in the world who had realized this reality. But the important thing in Buddhism is not only the heavenly path, but Buddha explained the deliverance path, how we liberate from suffering. There, Buddha said, the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth depends on the dependent origination or Paticcasamuppada. Buddha says, he who sees the dependent origination sees the Dhamma. He who sees the Dhamma sees the dependent origination. Again, Buddha said, he who sees the Dhamma sees me. He who sees me sees the Dhamma. Here it is very important, understanding Buddhism is very important. Understanding Buddhism means understanding the dependent origination. Until we recognize the nature of the dependent origination, actually we don't know that a Buddha appeared in the world. Even though we worship morning and evening to the Buddha, until we understand the dependent origination or ultimate truth, we don't know that a Buddha appeared in the world. We recognize the Buddha and his teachings throughout learning the deliverance path, ultimate truth, and the dependent origination. Here, before Buddha attained enlightenment, Buddha imagined and recognized, and he again and again memorized how people are suffering in this world. Decay, sickness, death, separation, those are the problems that people face in their day-to-day life. Then Buddha imagined why people have these challenges in their life. What is the nearest reason of these challenges, sufferings in this life? Then Buddha recognized the nearest reason of these challenges is as birth. What is the reason of birth? The reason of birth is becoming or bhava. What is the meaning of bhava? Bhava means that when we look at outside, we think there is something outside. Suffering or happiness brings me from outside. And also, we think Before we experience, something is here. After we experience, the experience remains here. That is the nature of becoming. Then Buddha again recognized what is the nearest reason of becoming. Then Buddha understood that upadana or clinging. We have attachment or clinging. That is why we have bhava or becoming. And also again Buddha realized what is the reason of clinging. Then Buddha recognized trusna, tanha or craving, attachment, greed or desire. That is the reason of clinging. Craving is the nearest reason of clinging. Then again Buddha realized what is the reason of craving or attachment. Then Buddha discovered the sensation that we receive through our six senses. That is the nearest reason of craving. Sensation. Eye sensation, ear sensation, there are six sensations that we receive through our six senses. That is why craving arises. Then again, Buddha reminded, recognized, discovered what is the reason of sensation. Then Buddha understood the reason of sensation is contact. Contact means when we look at something, we contact something outside with ignorance. It doesn't mean that we should not contact with anything or anybody. Buddha never says it. But here, the thing that we have contact or passa, now when we look at something, when we experience something in outside, quickly, immediately, our senses are fixed in outside. When we look at this picture, your entire life is in this picture. When you think your mom, your entire life is in your mom. At that moment you have no actual physical body. When you think someone who has blamed you, your entire life is in that person. At that moment you don't know what you have wore here. If you don't think your clothes, actually you don't know how many clothes that you have wore here. When you think, when you imagine what I have wore here, then you can understand these things are in my body. Until you think, actually they are not in your mental world. And then Buddha understood how contact arises. Then Buddha realized the nearest reason of contact is six senses. Six senses means, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. These are the six senses. It means that now we are not skillful in senses. How we say it? Now, when we look at something through our eyes, we think this picture comes from outside to my life. This thing that I see just now. When we keep our hand here, we think now I can contact this flower. But we can put our hand here. We can never recognize flowers through our physical body. We should have other senses too at that moment. For example, when somebody is coming here who is blind, we put his hand here, like here. Then he has no idea about flowers because he has no the ability of eye. For example, when somebody is coming here who is blind, after he come inside, he has no idea about this hall. Actually, this hall has been created by our mind. There is no real hall here. And a lot of things in this world that is created by our mental condition. And salayatana means, or six senses. Actually now we are not skillful in our senses. That is why our senses are fixed in outside when we experience something through our senses. Then Buddha again realized, what is the reason of six senses? Nama Rupa Paccaya Salayatana. The nearest reason of six senses is mental and physical phenomena. Actually, it has a very deep meaning. We discuss it in surface level. And again, Buddha realized that what is the reason of mental and physical phenomena? Buddha understood that the consciousness. Consciousness means what we recognize. If we recognize something, it means our consciousness is there. It is not permanent. That consciousness arises at the moment with the conditions. But we think our consciousness is permanent. But every moment, our consciousness, the present thought, arises and ceases. For example, when you think some of your friends who has blamed you, then you may get upset. Suddenly you think that person has helped you, then your mind is pleasant. Now immediately you will receive a call that your friend is at the hospital with a very severe damage or accident. Then you are so compassionate. From moment to moment, our mind or consciousness changes. That is the nature of these things. And again, Buddha realized how consciousness arises. Then Buddha analyzed that the nearest reason of consciousness is mental formations, mental situation. Actually, those things are interrelated. When this thing, then this thing arises. When this thing is here, the other thing arises again. When we look at this flower, first we have only the shadow. Then we recognize it through our mind. Then again, my senses are created. Then I look at here, thinking these things as flowers. Then these things change. We create those senses at the moment. For example, when somebody comes here, you can't recognize that person first. Then you are neutral. Then again, you understand That person is your best friend when you were in high school. Then suddenly your senses change. That is the nature of our senses. According to our mental condition, at the moment, we build, we create, we make our senses. It is not permanent. When your mind is lustful, suddenly your senses change. When you meditate, your senses change. And according to our mental conditions, our senses change from moment to moment. And again, Buddha realized what is the reason, what is the closed reason of mental formations. Buddha recognized the reason as ignorance or delusion. There are 12 steps here. It is very important to understand these 12 things don't take more time. In an immediate second thought, all steps arise at the moment. When you look at something with ignorance, suddenly all steps, all things have arisen. It doesn't take time. We can recognize these things with our intelligence. In the physical world, we can't separate them. We have to recognize all these things through our intelligence, our wisdom, according to why we are listening throughout Buddha's message. It doesn't mean that we should believe it, but we should confident it first. Then we can realize it by ourselves. For example, when you go to a place never you have been, first you should need the address. Until you reach the destination, you should believe the address. But after you reach the destination, you don't need to believe it. Why is that? Now you experience that thing. But until you reach the place that you hope to go, you should believe, you should confident in that address. The Dhamma is like that. First, we should have confidence in what Buddha taught. But it doesn't mean that we should believe the Buddha forever. One day we can reach his same experience. That is why Buddha says, you should not be my followers or disciples. You also can experience the same thing that I realized by yourself. That is why Buddha said, I am not the master of yours. I am only a teacher. I am only a teacher. You know, there were some people who attained enlightenment. Actually, sometimes they didn't worship the Buddha. After they realized, they left the Buddha. Because after their experience, that is their experience. And here, it is very important that if we look at something with ignorance, if we experience something through our sixth senses with ignorance or delusion, at the moment, all those steps have gone. At the moment. Even though we are neutral at the moment, we are not away from suffering. Now, if you are not thirsty, you may say that, I don't need that water bottle. You are neutral. But when you are thirsty, even though I disturb you take this water bottle. For example, when there is some wood here, it is very dustful, dust, and very ugly. You are not interested that wood. Sometimes there are some ants also there. You don't need that wood. But whenever you are falling from a mountain, at the moment, if this wood is there, how is your mind? You like that wood at the moment when that is in need. Even though you don't tell that, I don't need this thing, I don't like this thing at the moment, when that is needed, you are ready to take it. That is the nature of our mind. Now sometimes, if you don't think someone, for example, there is a doctor, that you don't care that person. Someday, if you are sick, other people may say that that is a good doctor. He is very clever. Even though you didn't like him before, after you are sick, you are ready to go there. That is the nature of our mind. Here, before Buddha attained enlightenment, under the Bodhi tree, Bodh Gaya in India, Buddha realized again and again how people are suffering in this world. Again and again he imagined, he realized the reasons of this suffering. Then he came to the main cause. What is the main cause of suffering? Ignorance or delusion. What is the delusion? Delusion means we think that there is something outside which brings me happiness or suffering. And also, we think that when we experience something, there was something here. After we experience, that thing remains here. That is the ignorance. And also we think, I can see the present thing. That is also one of the ignorances. When we look at this flower, we think, now I experience the present experience. But we can recognize, we can see color or shadow, but we can never see flowers. We can recognize flowers, but we can see flowers. We can recognize the sun or lumindo, but we can never see a lumindo. We can never listen in lumindo. We can never touch you. When I keep my hand here, I meet the four fundamental elements. For example, when someone is here, very beautiful person, opposite gender, then here everything is dark. We are sitting here. There is other person there. We have no feelings. We are sitting near. Opposite gender, very beautiful person. Everything is dark. Do we have feelings? No. When light put on, then mind change. On the other side, when we are sleeping, we are putting hand, very warm thing is nearby. We are so happy, we are keeping here, putting our hand there. We are sleeping at night in the darkness. Then our mom came and she put her on the switch. Then we look at that one. This is a snake. What happens to us? Until we see that, we didn't have that feeling. If that thing brings us happiness or suffering, even though we are in the dark, we should have the same feelings. But the feelings doesn't arise outside. We create it inside. This is the thing. This is the reality that we should recognize if we want to overcome suffering completely. And here, Buddha understood how suffering arises. Then Buddha again recognized that how we overcome this suffering. Then if we want to overcome suffering, decay, sickness, death and rebirth, we have to overcome birth. If we want to overcome birth, we have to overcome becoming. If we want to overcome becoming, we have to get rid of clinging. When we are going to overcome clinging, we need to overcome craving. When we are going to overcome craving, we have to overcome sensation. If we need to overcome sensation, we have to overcome contact. Contact means, don't misunderstand, it doesn't mean that we should not look at something, we should not hear something. It is not Buddhism. Contact means contact with ignorance. What is the contact with wisdom? When we see this flower, we know very well, I can recognize only shadow or color. I recognize flowers through my mind. I can see Luminde. When I go to recognize you, my first experience has ceased. I recognize you through my mind, consciousness. I recognize you are my friend or my devotee. When your mom comes here, she may say that this is my son, my beloved son. When your grandma comes here, she may say that this is my grandson. When your teacher comes here, he or she may say that this is my student. When a lion or tiger comes here, it may think that this is a good diet for me. There are some beings in our physical body. They may think that this is my home, this is my village, this is my place where I am living. According to their mental conditions, they experience different. They recognize something through their mind. The reality is not outside. And this is the world that we create at the moment according to our present mental condition. It is not permanent. And again, Buddha realized when we are going to overcome contact with ignorance, we have to overcome six senses, arising of six senses with ignorance. And And that is why here Buddha says the real skillfulness is that skillfulness in senses. This is the place where we should show our proficiency, skillfulness. As soon as we look at something, as soon as we hear something, we should know that this experience arises at the moment. If you have this skillfulness with mindfulness, it means nobody can steal your inner peace. Now, the outside persons and things can bring happiness or suffering to you, because you are not skillful in senses. When I show a very beautiful picture, I can change your mind. When I show you ugly picture, then I can change your mind. If you are in ignorance and without mindfulness. And again, Buddha realized that when we overcome mental and physical phenomena with ignorance, we can overcome six senses. And when we are going to overcome contact, when we are going to overcome mental and physical phenomena, we have to overcome consciousness, which arises with ignorance. And when we are going to overcome consciousness, we have to overcome mental formations. Always we create mental formations with ignorance. Sometimes we may think that this is good. Sometimes we say that this is bad. We decide, we suggest that good or bad according to our mental conditions, mental formations. And also, if we want to overcome mental formations which arise with ignorance, that we have to overcome delusion. When our mind is completely in the present moment, reflecting on impermanence mindfully, at the moment, there is no place that negative thoughts can live. Buddha says an example that when sunrise comes from east through a hole, then it comes to the wall or earth. When there is no wall or earth, then if there is some water, the shadow comes to the water. If there is no wall, earth or water, it has no place to come. Our life is like that. If we have no ignorance or delusion, then outside persons or things can't live inside. They have no space in our life. It doesn't mean that we don't contact with other people. We are able to contact with other people intelligently, with wisdom, without suffering. While other people are contacting with the people ignorantly, we can contact with people intelligently. You know, sometimes our moms play with children, but mentally they don't play with children. Someone can say they are playing with children, but actually their mental condition is very high. On the other side, when you go to the beach near the ocean, you can see the horizon. At the same time, a very little child who is with you may think that There is a place that the ocean and sky is close. But the eye experience is same. The little child may think that there is a place where sky and the ocean meets. But we know very well there is not a place like that. Because we are intelligent. Like that, when we have this higher understanding with wisdom, we can deal with people, with ordinary people. But mentally we are different. That is why Buddha says it is very important to understand this reality, and also whenever we are with ignorance, we are in the circle of the dependent origination. We are dependent. What is our freedom? Our freedom is going away from this circle. The freedom depends on getting rid of ignorance or delusion. Whenever we can experience something with mindfulness and wisdom, at the moment we know very well this experience arises and ceases at the moment. Whatever we experience through our six senses, it means the five aggregates. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. These five things arise at the moment. Immediately those things cease. Finally, we see only thing that arising and ceasing of these five aggregates. It means we don't depend on outside persons or things, and also we don't depend on even our mind. Mind also impermanent. Our entire life is the present thought. That present thought is even not permanent. Every moment, this present thought arises and ceases. That is our entire life. Don't think there is a mind, I am here. That is misunderstanding. Whenever you think, whatever you think, that your entire life is there. When you think this flower, your entire life is this flower. When you think your mom, your entire life is in your mom. No other thing. Whenever we think something, if we can be in wisdom completely with mindfulness, at that moment we don't depend on anywhere. It means even though we are in old age, we don't feel our age. Even though we have a very severe disease in our physical body, we don't feel it. Even though we are close to dying, we don't feel that death, because our mind is completely in wisdom, reflecting on impermanence. At that moment, our senses have high quality skillfulness. We don't depend on any internal senses or external objects. This is the place where we should reach one day if we want to overcome suffering. Without this understanding, we have no any other options. The liberation, freedom is not hereafter, after death. The liberation or freedom can be reached at the moment. Then we can deal with other people in the world, ordinary people, but mentally we are different. We have overcome suffering. And also, not only we overcome this suffering or ignorance, but we are ready to help others. Because we are so compassionate. Without this understanding, people in the world, they are suffering. Therefore, we are ready to help them if they have the ability that the listening skills or paying attention, active listening. If they are ready to listening to what we are saying, we are ready to help them. Explaining this message is like counseling. When we are going to help someone giving counseling, the client should be ready to get the counseling. Without their wish, without their interest in, we can't help them. This message also like that. If somebody likes to listening to this message, we can explain them. Following or not is their duty. If they need to overcome suffering, they can practice it and they can see the results. And here, it is very important that first we should have knowledge. Knowledge is very important. Knowledge is wealth. That first of all, Buddha says, we should have knowledge. Listening this message, we should develop our knowledge, understanding where we are going to, what we practice. Knowledge is very important. Knowledge is very important. Practice without knowledge is blind. Practice without knowledge where we are going to is blind. Knowledge without practice is kind. Therefore, knowledge and practice both are important. Not only knowledge we should have, but according to what we are listening to, we have to reflect on it again and again. So reflection also very important. We should imagine, think, recall it again and again. Not only here, you are in the classroom, but whatever we do, from morning to night, we should think this reality again and again. Our interest in should be here. This should be our dream, future dream. As an intelligent person, this should be our dream, because this is the real liberation. The other things are not the real liberation. And therefore, we think, we imagine it again and again. That is why, when Buddha's time, there were some monks, disciples, they imagined, they dreamed, when I become this situation, again and again they thought. Imagine that dream, they practice. Practice also very important. How do we practice? By practicing Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Virtue or discipline in our speech and behavior. Concentration, keeping our attention in the present moment with mindfulness. And wisdom, reflecting on impermanence by using insight meditation, vipassana bhavana. These three things are very important on this path. First of all, we should listen in this message again and again. Why should we listen to this message again and again? This is different from everything in the world. This is another way that we should think because all other people think in other way. We have been also thinking in another way as ordinary people for a long time in this journey. Therefore, we have to change this missed attitude, misunderstanding. That is why we have to listen to this message again and again, since it is different from other teachings. And also not only learning, but we have to reflect on, think it again and again. Then we should realize it through three disciplines: virtue, concentration, and wisdom, or practicing insight meditation. This is the thing. The Buddha, not only the present Buddha, but all Buddhas who appeared in the world from time to time realized the same message. There are no any other options for liberation. This is the only solution for the real liberation. And that is why Buddha says, whether a Buddha appears or not in the world, this truth is forever. This truth doesn't belong to even the Buddha who realized this message. This is a discovery. This is not a creation. This is a discovery. That is why Buddha says anybody can realize this message, this truth, by their intelligence. Buddha is only a teacher. One day we can realize this truth by ourselves. That is why there is one of the qualities in Buddhism, Paccattan Veditabbo, Vinyohi. Dhamma is the thing that should be realized by the wise. And also, there are other qualities in the Dhamma, Sanditthiko Akaliko. Dhamma is visible result, immediately effective. The other things that you do, it takes some time to get results. If you want to become pilot, you take time. You should have training for a few years. But the interesting thing is here. Whenever we realize this message, we can overcome suffering this moment. If we are skillful in senses, at the moment we are away from suffering, we have liberation, we don't depend on outside. We depend on inside. We depend on our intelligence, wisdom, panya. That is why Dhamma is well expounded by the Buddha, Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo. Sanditthiko, visible results. Akaliko, immediately effective. Opanayiko, leading onwards. And Paccattan Ehipassiko, we can say anyone, come and see. Buddha always says that come and see. Buddhism never says that come and believe. Come and see. Ehipassika. That is one of the qualities of the Dhamma. Come and see. And also Paccattan Veditabbo Vinyohi, to be realized by the wise, by himself. This is the message. This is the main doctrine. This is the center of Buddhist teachings. This is focused on getting rid of suffering completely. This truth depends on ultimate truth. It means we don't depend on anything or anywhere, even in mind. We depend on intelligence, wisdom, panya. Have you any question? Mr. Dan? Okay. Ali? Taraka? Do you have any question? Okay. Okay, thank you for your good attention. I appreciate your participation and active listening. That is very good quality that you have. And now we are going to transfer these merits that you acquired at the moment to our departed relatives too. By the power of all these positive energy that you acquired at the moment by practicing Dhamma, by listening to Dhamma, and may our departed relatives receive this spiritual energy. May they enhance their samsaric journey, and finally may they attain final bliss of liberation, the everlasting happiness. With that intention, we are going to transfer merits reciting the Gatha. Idam me jnatinam hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo. Idam me jnatinam hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo. Idam me jnatinam hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo. By the power of all these meritorious deeds, may guardian deities and angels also receive this energy, and may they enhance their divine power, and may they also keep their eye on you too. May they also attain final bliss of liberation. With that intention, let's share these merits with guardian deities and angels too. Akhasattha ca bummattha devānāgā mahiddikā puññantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu sāsanam. Akhasattha ca bummattha devānāgā mahiddikā puññantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu desanam. Akhasattha ca bummattha devānāgā mahiddikā puññantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu tvaṃ sadā. By the power of all these meritorious deeds, may you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you, may no problems come to you, may no difficulties come to you. May your all righteous wishes meet with success. Finally, may all of us attain final bliss of liberation, the everlasting happiness, Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dukkham pantā ca niddukkhaṃ, bhayam pantā ca nibbhayam, sokam pantā ca nissokam, hontu sambe pipānino. Dukin pelena sat, dukin medetva, bien pelena sat, bien neti vetva. Sovin tevena sat, somnas vetva, nitin mehama sat, suvapat vetva. May the triple gem bless you.